All right, this week on the podcast, I'm joined by Sean and Erin Behen. They have a fund in their son who passed away's name, Thomas Behen. They have the Thomas Behen Fund, and they are fundraising for a camp that they have out in Sebago to get kids outside, get them fishing, get them in the woods, all that sort of stuff. They do a golf tournament. They do other ways of fundraising to do a bunch of good things for people in the community. Just awesome people. And had them on the podcast to share their story, talk about ways people can help them out. So I hope people that listen to the podcast take note of that and consider supporting them. So it was a really great conversation. Glad we did it. So this is the Randy Forcier podcast. If you could do me a favor and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, takes a second. If you could do that, I really appreciate it. Thanks for always listening. Thanks for the support. And here's Sean and Erin. All right, I'm joined on the podcast today by Sean and Erin Behen. They started the Thomas Behen Fund a few years back after their son Thomas passed away, and happy to have you guys here to talk about that today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It's been a long time in the works, and I'm glad we made it happen.
Yeah, me too.
So I want to talk about the Thomas Behen Fund. Why don't we just start from the top with the Thomas Behen Fund? You guys started obviously after he passed away a few years ago. Just talk about how that all got started.
Okay, Sean, do you want me to go?
Go
There's
ahead.
two of us. So September 2017, Thomas died in a car accident, and the goodness of their hearts, some friends of ours through Thomas's fishing community. I could tell you a little bit about Thomas. Thomas
Please
was
do.
an incredible bass fisherman. Ever since he was a little guy, he always loved fishing and the outdoors and nature. And he became involved in Maine Bass Nation and the Mainly Bass fishing clubs and made a name for himself at a very young age, and became high school state champion. He was on the adult state team as a youth, and a lot of other accolades that he
Incredible.
got. Yeah, as a pretty young guy that he, normally those guys don't get till they're much older or never have gotten them. So anyway, so after his accident, Maggie happened to see a bench down in Kennebunk that said he loved to fish the day after the accident. And some friends of ours started a GoFundMe to get the bench made. And it kind of exploded. And we were like, whoa, now what do we do?
Yeah.
We could help kids. Maybe we can send some kids fishing, because when Thomas went to the state championships and the national championships and those kind of things, we were his funding.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could help some kids like him
So-
and give them. So it kind of started
Yes.
because it was like, we got the bench and now we have all this extra money. What do we do?
Where is the bench located?
It's at Wilcox Pond at St.
Okay.
Joseph Cemetery.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes.
So
Right on Western.
perfect moniker on it as well. So then you were off and running, and you said, well, you obviously want to help the kids out, but we want to fundraise as well. Turn this into something where we're going to raise money for it actively and turn it into like a thing.
Right.
So
It
when did you decide to do that? Was it pretty quickly afterwards?
was pretty quick after we had, what was that? We called it a concert that Sean's friend offered to do an
Yes.
event. And he's in a band. And so we went to Massachusetts to the Hunt Country Club, and his friends did it for free. We sold tickets and did a silent auction. And all of a sudden it was like this big thing. We were like, oh my gosh, look what happened here.
Right.
And then after that, you got the idea for a golf tournament, which has been an annual staple for the past number of years.
Yeah. Sean's friend said, you should do a golf tournament. And Sean
Right.
and I were like, I don't know how to do that. But I had friends who worked for the YMCA back in the day, and she knew how to run a golf tournament. And she's my right-hand woman now, Michelle Sawyer and Jim Sawyer.
Yep.
And they were like, we'll help you. We'll help you do it.
Just one of those things where you just like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Let's do it. It's a good idea.
Right.
It's nice to gather people in Thomas's memory.
Exactly.
From the time that I think I've done it every year for most of the years, if not since the beginning, it's always been one of the better run golf tournaments that I've been involved in, with a ton of volunteers,
Thank you.
with
Yep.
food, auction items, and all that great
Mhm.
stuff, so you
Yeah.
guys have you tried to improve it every year along the way?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
The first year we had paper registration. So there was all these I was like, the paper trail. And then the next time we had, a friend of mine, Carrie Edgerton, she made all of the Google Docs for the registration, the Google Forms, and then that all populated into a spreadsheet. And so that made life so much easier. Figured out registration and the flow and how to do, because then I would have to do all the thank you letters because we were so thankful. But then I got an idea that, wait a minute, what if we took team pictures and we sent them to 1 hour photo to Walmart, and then we could do a letter and a team picture right there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great idea.
So,
I did not realize that. I mean, I have all of those pictures in my office, like one back to back to back to back. It's fun to see because I always play with my brother Curtis, who is friends with Thomas, my dad, and then sometimes it's our uncle, or I haven't got my other brother Matt to play yet, I don't think, but I never realized that you guys sent those over to 1 hour photo. I thought you had like the special printer in the back or something. So you guys were, meanwhile, you're running around with your heads cut off trying to get those things figured out.
We got the volunteers. We're like, okay, you're doing on my volunteer list, Walmart run. They go with the pictures, they come back, and then we sort them and give them out when everyone comes back. And that has gone well, and that saved me a lot of, mail to send out, and then I can send out to the major sponsors and the whole sponsors and that kind of thing.
Last year, it rained unbelievably.
It did.
You know what, though?
Into a wedding reception.
Yes, but that will probably go down as the wettest round of golf I've ever played in my life, and it will be for probably most of the people that were there. The good thing is the rain held off just enough to do our opening ceremony for us to go out into the holes, and we were all out there, and we were at the golf course, and we bought our 50-50 tickets, or we bought our auction item tickets. So I was happy for you guys and for Thomas that everyone is able to get over there, and we played 9 holes in the absolute pouring rain. And I think I saw water running across one of the greens at one point. I was like, I don't know if we should be out here. And then someone was like, all right, it's time to go back in. But honestly, it'll be one of the most memorable tournaments I've ever played at.
Oh my gosh. It was rivers running down the cart paths. I remember them asking me, they said, Erin, what do you want to do? I said, that's on you. I'm like, what your golf course can handle and I said, I don't want the Thomas Behen Fund golf course to ruin Dutch Elm tournament,
And they're always gracious, right? Dutch Elm's been a good partner for you guys over the years to host, I imagine.
Yes, they have. They've been great. They've been really helpful.
So one way that people can support the Thomas Behen Fund is to be a sponsor of this tournament, right? You guys are always looking for sponsorships, whether it's hole sponsors or I don't know if you do. I forget if there's contest sponsors or anything like that.
We have major sponsors. So what happened? So as you know, because you've golfed in it, this will be our 5th annual because we had to cancel 1 year because of COVID.
That's right. Yeah.
So Thomas has been gone for 6 years now. So this would have been the 6th annual, but it's the 5th annual. And it's just evolved over the years that last year we sold out in 1 day. We had 36.
We sold out all the golf
teams registered in 1 day.
Right.
So our hope this year is that if people really want to get in, because it's turned into a fun tournament, it's a big community event, it's fun, it's, so we're planning on opening registration February 1st for returning major sponsors and anyone who's interested in becoming a major sponsor for the tournament this year. And then March 1st, we'll open up for teams. So then we'll know how many we have left over, because last year it kind of turned into a panic. Like we didn't have information from all of our major sponsors yet. We didn't want to lose those because,
they've been very kind to us.
They have been. And the goal obviously is for fundraising for the Thomas Behen Fund, and which we haven't talked about is the Thomas Behen Casting Camp.
Yeah, which is
a big goal.
Tell me about what that is all about and the vision and what your hopes are for the future for that.
So I think after Thomas passed, Sean and I were talking one day, and, I was probably having a moment because I have my moments. And I just said, wouldn't it be cool if we had a camp named after Thomas? I'm like, we could get kids outside, get them in the woods, get them in the water, get them out
not in the water, but on the water.
On the water.
On the water,
water.
Right.
That's if I was fishing, I would be in the water. But for people that know what they're doing, okay.
Right. So, I said, wouldn't that be cool, Sean? And then suddenly this land came about in the town of Sebago on Southeast Pond.
Mhm.
And so here we are, we have the land, and we have the vision of a camp for kids, a day camp,
Yeah.
ultimately. And, whether that's, kids who, I don't know, we're not like that piece we're working on. Like, sometimes I say, would it be great to offer it to like Sweetser to have them bring kids and we could have
Right.
the space, or Center for
Mhm.
Grieving Children, because we know what that is to go through loss.
Absolutely.
And so right now it's a giant undertaking to build, and that's what we really have to get a lot of sponsors, or maybe a major sponsor that would
Major
want to
sponsor,
really
right.
partner with us
Mhm.
and be like, we want to get this camp off the ground.
On the camp specifically. So
Yeah.
do you have, like, is there a number that you have to hit from a fundraising level to be able to start taking that to the next level? Or are we just in the point where we have the land, we're sitting on it, and we're just continuing to fundraise?
No, yes and no. So
How's that?
fundraising is always an option in the sense that nonprofits in general don't function well without donations and in-kind support.
Mhm.
So presently, I have been the general contractor, the head foreman, and the lead worker.
Yep.
And so what we've done is, so it consists of 22 acres right on a point in the southeast pond. I have cleared approximately 2.5 acres. I have area for which I am going to put in a 30 by 40 barn, if you will,
Mhm.
with the first floor is kind of empty, so we can store boats and equipment and fix them and so forth. The second floor is in case there's foul weather on a particular day or an afternoon that shows up, we will have a place for them to play games or watch a movie or just be safe for the moments, right?
Yeah.
So those bits are in the work. I have the electricity's down. I have some other bits on that to do. The road is in. The clearing is made. I had the gentleman yesterday out there for septic and well designs about where placement's going. So essentially the camp is going to be, let's say 20 children show up in the morning. We'll split them in two groups of 10. What happens is 10 will go into the wood with some leaders, and they will go around because, again, Thomas is outdoors everything, right? And so what happens is they will learn about how to go through the woods, right? How many people get lost in the woods every year and don't have an idea of how to get out, right? The younger you teach them, the better off they'll be as an adult, hopefully, right? And so they'll look at fauna and so forth and whatever they can. There's a number of animals. We have a number of does. We have a number of turkeys and other four-legged creatures out there. And so they'll learn or come across that because we have 22 acres, but it abuts 140 acres of open space right now.
So it's plenty of space. Yep.
Yeah. So they'll come back at like 11, let's say, talk about it for 15, 20 minutes and see what they found out, what's new. And then they'll have lunch and run around until about 1 o'clock. While those 10 are in the wood, we have a series of John boats with an adult in which they'll go around the pond. It's a reasonable sized pond. And the reason for that is because we want kids to catch fish, right? Yeah. And so it's also connected to 3 other ponds that cover about a 12-mile by the crow flies. And so what happens is, what I didn't know, actually, Thomas and Maggie, our daughter, would go to the next lake up every summer. Yep. And Thomas would fish it and so forth. And one evening, he was testing a spinnerbait and how it worked in the water. And so next thing you know, he has a 7.5-pound bass out of nowhere, right? Type of thing. So that pond drops into the next one. And no one else is catching anything. And he's just kind of, just want to see how it works, right? Anyway,
it's funny how good that's amazing to hear. I don't have any of that, so it's cool to hear that.
I understand that.
Sean and Thomas would be on the same boat, and Thomas would win the tournament, and Sean wouldn't catch a thing.
I'd be in last place.
It's incredible,
He would say, "Dad, the fish is right there. Can't you see it?" Nope. He goes, "Look." He throws his lure over there, and out comes a 2 or 3 pound fish of some sort. So yeah, right. So this lake pond, it has a lot of fish. It's not pressurized by any means. There's only 6, 7 other little houses, camps on the whole 175 acres. So there's a lot of fish as what the person who owned it before the people next door when we're speaking with them. So The other 10 kids were going on a John boat, about 5 or 6 John boats. And what they'll do is they'll, again, it's small enough to hope to catch a fish, identify the fish in terms of the species and so forth like that, and then take a weight, a length measurement. And then what we'd like to do is tag it with one of our Thomas Behen Kids Casting Camp tags, so that if someone down the road, again, it's connected to 3 other ponds that go about 12 miles up into Bridgeton. So again, they'll come back at the end of the 11:30ish and talk about what they've caught, how they caught it, where they caught it, and so forth. And then go have lunch and run around. And then in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, they'll switch. And then about 3 o'clock, they'll come back and go something like that.
Yeah.
But what all that does, it allows us to keep data on what goes on there and what we see. So we also have a relationship with the IFW in terms of fish data. I've run a similar thing in my graduate degrees to get kids out of the city, if in this instance, and go up there. So there's a lot of data, a lot of science, a lot of education. So it's not just, I'm going fishing or I'm going to get a walk in the wood type of thing. So there's a lot of other things for which we have planned. Again, some of it still needs a little ironing out, but essentially that's the concept of the camp. And it's I've run into a few people up and down the road and talked about it, and they go, "Oh, I have a group of kids we can take," or so forth. We, with the Bass Nation, we also go to Camp Sunshine. We take disabled veterans. We take a little Special Olympics. We take a lot of other groups out fishing along the summer months, and so this is an extension of that.
Yeah. So do you see it as like a week-long camp for the people that you have? I mean, because you could do like a Sweetser Week or Center for Grieving Children Week, or just like, is that what you see it as, or is it more of like a day-by-day thing, or a full summer?
It's a day camp. For one, right? Well, we don't want to house individuals overnight.
Yeah.
That question is really good, because in talking with some other colleagues of mine around, okay, if I came on Monday, what are we going to do? If I came on Tuesday, is there something different? Thursday, and so forth, right? So yeah, there can be that. Again, that part of it is not vague, but not ironed out.
Yeah, still sorting that part out. I mean, it sounds like you're making good progress, but there's still some things to do. So what would your hope be in terms of a time frame? Are you like, in 3 years' time, we'd like to have what you just described up and running? Is it longer than that? Sure, I have no clue how that piece works. Is there a goal in mind for that?
Sure, there is. Right now, some of the infrastructure needs to be completed. Like again, looking for donations and support to purchase that barn so we can set that up. Right. There's concrete work, so in-kind donations are also helpful for that. There's a lot of excavation work still that has to go on, but we already had kids up there already that Erin could talk to.
Yep, Thornton Academy anglers came up for a day.
Oh, cool.
Yep, this fall it was one of their first outings, so they came up and we fed them donuts and juice and things, and they, went out and caught all kinds of fish and loved it because they were the only ones out on the water.
Yeah,
right. No,
so you'll be able to continue to do those things as you build up to the long-term vision, and hopefully able to get other groups out there too.
That's the hope and prayer, because it's there and we want to offer it to children and to groups and for people to just come and enjoy it. And
were you guys lucky to get that land? Like 22 acres on a point and a pond in Sebago, it seems like a best case scenario for what you guys are looking to do. Was it something where you just saw it hit the market and jumped on it, or how'd that all play out?
It's 40. So I was looking when, again, Erin and I first started chatting about it, and I was looking within 90 miles because my work takes me across the country during the week. And I don't know how I could do that and also drive 4 hours somewhere to do this, right? And then how do you get the children there, right? Or the groups there, right? That's difficult. So again, it comes back to the fishing community. A gentleman for which I and Thomas fished with, and Thomas did better than he did, strangely enough, said, "Hey, I work for a person who has or does that type of work in a sense that they're land developers." And so they bought this land in 2000. They've been sitting on it. The person owns pretty much half one side of the lake. And so I talked to him a couple of times around it, and we leased it for a couple of years before we purchased it, and have been doing, again, incremental work on it as time, money, and health provides.
I
What
like
are
to
some?
say it's
Okay.
divine intervention.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
That
it
Thomas,
sounds like it.
that Thomas was like, "Hey, look what
Mhm.
I've got," and
Yeah.
we're 45 minutes from Biddeford.
Yes.
The whole idea of the camp sounds like a great way to honor him, but also help a lot of other kids. And just
Yeah.
it's a great vision that you guys have for it. And I think it's probably perfect given what I know about Thomas. So, what are some of the other things that you're doing to fundraise for it? Are there other fundraisers as well, or just the golf tournament, or just?
The golf tournaments are a big one every so
Mhm.
often. I mean, they used to be like Giving Tuesday,
Mhm.
Right.
around like Thanksgiving time and things like that. So we may bring that up again.
Yep.
But aside from the camp, we also give to Biddeford High School. We
Yep.
donate to the sports teams. We donate to, like right now, we're going to be probably giving a donation to, because they're putting together boxes of food. And they can only do
Thanksgiving.
so many families. And Sean and I are like, well, if we give you some more money, you can do more families.
Yeah.
Right.
We've given to veterans at Christmas time. We buy things for the homeless and give them. So it's like we're the camp, but then we see so many needs in our own community right here that like we just want to keep giving back. I mean, I
Mhm.
think when you lose a child, it's like no other loss that you could ever imagine.
Mhm.
And I don't like
Mhm.
to compare loss and grief, but child loss is just
Devastating.
yeah. And
Right.
so I read a book by an author named David Kessler, and he had worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross,
Okay.
who did this, the 5 stages of grief. And he wrote a book called Finding Meaning because he was a grief counselor and he used to counsel people in loss and everything. And then he lost his own child.
Oh wow.
And he said he wanted to go back and apologize to every parent that he ever counseled and worked with and apologize and say, I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
I didn't know. So in his book, he talks about something called co-destiny. And it's kind of like a finding meaning and a purpose in your loss and doing something for that person and for you. And it's a healing. And so we just happen to, the Thomas Behen Fund grew and it could just be planting a tree. It could be whatever. So for us, we just feel like this community after losing Thomas was like nothing I have ever seen in my life. And family, friends, people from out of state, were like, I cannot believe what Biddeford did for your family in the
Yeah.
fishing community. And I mean, they even
Right.
still just this fall had the Thomas Behen, Memorial Field Hockey game
That's
because
right. That's
Maggie
right.
Nice.
played field hockey. And so that was a fundraiser.
Mhm.
And they're still giving back. And like this community still shows up for us.
Yeah.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's what, we're forever changed, but we wouldn't want to be the same.
Mhm.
We wouldn't want to have not had Thomas
Yeah.
but if we can do something to help and give back to the people that have given so much to us, we feel like it's like
Mhm.
the least we can do.
Right. And
What?
we're from away, so it's even more amazing. It was over 1,100 people at his wake, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Again, from all up down the state, other states in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and so forth. It was truly amazing. The folks at the funeral home were just amazed. They didn't know what to do
Yeah.
because people waited 3 hours in line to come in.
He's obviously touched a lot of people's lives and continues to through the fund and the camp and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
What's the best way that people can contribute to the fund or help out? Like direct them to the website? What can they do to support the cause that you guys are working hard on?
So we have a website, thomasbehen.org, that we have to update a few things because I'm
Yes.
exactly like the tech lady.
Are you the website manager as well? Besides, do
Uh,
you do?
But sometimes,
well, Sean likes to say that the golf tournament runs itself,
right.
but Sean,
Well, it's automated now. Maybe not runs
there's
itself.
there's a human behind the golf tournament
Yeah.
right here. So thomasbehen.org, and do we have? I think we have a
We have a PayPal donation
PayPal
button.
donation button on the page.
But there's Venmo and other venues that have creeped into our own culture, right? Our own. And there's also our Facebook page for Thomas Behen. Fund, and that has
Instagram.
links as well, Instagram. And so you can follow us and you can donate to us. You can come help up at the camp, get those bits and pieces organized, right? It's even after the COVID has sort of settled down, the pandemic, there's a lot of logistics things that still have problems getting in a reasonable time. So, for instance, I'm looking for a meter socket that is 54 weeks back ordered. So, so that's going to take a little bit of time to find one that will suit our purpose and so on. But anyways, there's lots of bits and pieces to do, and we're still working on it. We're in the process of organizing a boat ramp in our location, which is challenging in some points, but we're getting closer each day in terms of permitting and doing the work and things like that. So, there's lots of things to do and places to go.
I'll make sure that I share that info as well.
Thank you.
Watch our social media, because the golf tournament registration,
yes.
People wanted to sign up last year. They're like, hold my spot. I want it now.
It's never too early to start spreading the word on it, and I can at least share those dates that you said too. February 1st and the March. It's February 22nd.
June 22nd is the tournament.
Is the tournament.
Right.
February 1st is the sponsors. March 1st is the team sign up.
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
February 1st will be major sponsors.
Major sponsors.
They get a team with their major sponsorship.
Right. So sometimes that's easier to go that route than wait for March 1st, because when they're gone, so to speak, in terms of team placement.
So we'll share that. So before I let you guys go, what's the thing about Thomas that you want to just make sure you keep alive about him?
I think it's his memory first, right? Remember that he was part of, as you mentioned, Curtis and Max and Mitchell, and there's so many of them to name, his friends. That group has done pretty amazing things since he's passed, and he gave of himself for others as well. He would always teach the younger kids how to fish, how to explore in the woods, it's tough to keep
love of nature. His love of nature and the outdoors. Thomas was never happier than when he was out fishing or just out in the woods. He's never happier.
Love it. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to come on the podcast and talk about that. Definitely want to spread the word on everything that you guys are doing and the ways that people can help out to the cause. So again, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Absolutely. It's always great to speak with you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Talk soon.
All right. Have a great day.